Let's do an audio test first. Good afternoon. I'm Trixie for Luminous. Today we're going to be discussing the PNP's responses to Attorney Glenn Chong on the death / possible murder of Richard Santillan. Okay, hold on. I'm looking at the actual please let me know if the audio is good. Hi, Aleli. Yes. So, to recap, the Richard Santillan was killed supposedly because he refused to stop when he was hailed by the Highway Patrol Group. Nung pinatitigil siya ng Highway Patrol Group, ayon dun sa kanilang spot report, ay dahil napansin nila na hindi rehistrado or hindi updated ang rehistro ng vehicle na dinadrive niya. Yung sasakyan na dinadrive niya ay belongs to Attorney Glenn Chong. Si Mr. Richard Santillan is known to be the aide of Attorney Chong. Okay? Alright, thank you for letting me know that the audio is good. Shout out kay Mikoy. Alright, hi Mikoy. Alright, let's get down to it. When Santillan was killed, supposedly according to the spot report, it was at about 1 a.m. He had left a gift-giving event at 10 p.m. and supposedly was hailed, and the incident happened at 1 in the morning, 1 a.m. So na-inform lang po ang pamilya niya the next day at 6 p.m. So there's also a lag of more than 24 hours bago na inform yung family, whereas this is a matter of interest kasi nga kumpleto naman po ang ID ni Mr. Santillan, and in the ID, which is his driver's license, ay naka-indicate doon yung address niya at madali pong ma-notify yung kanyang next of kin. Alright, dahil doon sa mga allegation ni Attorney Glenn Chong, nag-respond ang Region 4 ng Philippine National Police, at ang sinabi ay there is an investigation ongoing ukol dun sa pagkamatay ni Mr. Santillan. Pero ayon dun sa PNP's initial statement, ang sabi nila iniimbestigahan lang daw kung may use of excessive force. Hindi nila iniimbestigahan whether or not Mr. Santillan is actually a drug suspect, kung the operation was correctly done, or the information na binasihan para doon para mag-umpisa yung operation ni against Mr. Santillan, kung ito ay base sa good information. So hindi po yon, according to the initial statements ng PNP's Region 4, hindi po yon ang investigasyon. Nilimita po nila yung kanilang investigasyon doon sa whether or not naggumamit ng excessive force yung operations team. The operations team was composed of 2 from the Highway Patrol Group. The main bulk were from the from the local police, from the municipal police, and then also from the regional police. All in all, there are about 18 that were involved. Immediately after that, nagkaroon ng ni-relieve yung top 2 officers at sinequester. Hindi sila actually dinetain parang may administrative restrictions lang yung ibang mga members ng operations team, kung whether or not they were kept from going to work. Ang issue dito kasi hindi sila pinapabalik doon sa regular duties nila para hindi sila makialam doon sa ongoing investigation. Okay. We'll deal with your questions later, ha. Let's go through the issues first. Okay, ang first issue is whether or not there was excessive force. Kung babasihan natin dito dun sa mga nakikita natin na indicators, was there any excessive force? Ayon kay Attorney Chong, the LTO has said, nag-check daw siya sa LTO kung merong alarm tungkol dun sa sasakyan, and if there is an apprehension report. Apparently, walang report na for apprehension yung kanyang vehicle, even if the registration is late. Kasi pwede ka naman magparehistro ng late, magbabayad ka lang ng fine. You can be apprehended, pwedeng i-impound yung sasakyan. Pero usually, bago mangyari yun, merong pinopost na alarm. O itong vehicle na to, hindi siya nagrehistro, therefore for apprehension ito. However, there is also nothing that stops the HPG from stopping an unregistered vehicle or questioning the registration of a vehicle. Pwede rin silang tiketan, but this is certainly not something that you would use deadly force on. So, clearly, yung pagpatigil ng HPG, ng grupo, was not because the vehicle was registered. Mukhang incidental lang po yun. But because, according to the police, they were really out to apprehend Mr. Santillan. They were out to apprehend him because meron silang intel reports that indicated that he is supposedly involved in a criminal syndicate called the Highway Boys. At dito sa and he's a suspect supposedly dealing with drugs. Okay. Dun sa so, the question remains, was there a use of excessive force? Based dun lang sa mga nakikita natin na pinapahayag, clearly there was a use of excessive force. And there is a discrepancy. First of all, ang sinasabi nila, the reason they shot at the vehicle was because it did not stop. But it did not stop because, it did not stop. Yes, but why was he being hailed? He was being stopped supposedly because he had expired registration. If yun lang po yung purpose kung bakit pinatitigal si Mr. Santillan, then definitely there is excessive force. Babarilin mo ba at papatayin ng tao using a hail of gunfire, 18 bullets in all that hit him, and about double that, the amount that was found in the car for simply an expired registration. So, dun pa lang, may laki ang issue na kailangan talagang imbestigahan ng PNP. Definitely for excessive force, because definitely there is excessive force here, lalo-lalo na sinasabi nila he is a drug suspect, but they are saying that the reason he was stopped was because of expired registration. It doesn't compute. If it is expired registration, you don't shoot at a person like that. So, based further dun sa report, nakalagay doon is that supposedly nanlaban siya, but there is no indication. There are no gunshot there is no gunshot residue, that the autopsy doesn't indicate any gunshot residue, na walang powder burns, at wala po tayong nakita dun sa mga photographs dun sa vehicle ni Mr. Santillan that any shots were fired from inside the car. Okay? Maraming tayong nakikitang bullet holes that are going inside the car, but not any single one that goes from inside the car going out. Okay? So, yun yung definitely the PNP's investigation into the use of excessive force is clearly taking so long. Kailan pa namatay si Mr. Santillan? Mag-Enero na. Hindi pa rin sila hindi pa sila natatapos sa kanilang investigation on whether or not excessive force was used. Ngayon, later on, nag-announce sila further investigations because of the allegations brought up by Attorney Chong. Sabi ni Attorney Chong, this was a rub-out, and this is a rub-out because he criticizes Smartmatic, and he is running for senator. Sumagot ang PNP ngayon using in a press conference saying that in various fora. The first reaction of General Carranza was, hindi ko kilala yan si Attorney Chong. Bakit naman namin i-operate siya? Or words to that effect. So, Attorney Chong counters that by saying that thereafter kasi, General Carranza held a press conference, at dun sa press conference, nagpresenta pa ng drug matrix. At yung drug matrix na yun supposedly indicates that Mr. Santillan is heavily involved in a criminal syndicate, the Highway Boys nga, and one of his duties or jobs to do in the syndicate was to deliver drugs or to run drugs, and he was supposedly an important member of this drug syndicate. They were saying that, but in presenting the drug matrix, nag-include siya ng picture, at yung picture na yon ay kinuha dun sa Facebook ni Mr. Santillan. So, Attorney Chong now counters that, and what he's saying is, paano niya sasabihin hindi ako kilala? kinuha niyo yung picture sa Facebook niya. Kung titignan niyo yung Facebook niya, I am all over it. How can you miss it? How can you not know that Mr. Santillan is connected to me? How can you not know that Mr. Santillan is always with me? And yet he found time to become a member of this so-called drug syndicate. So, naman pa. Doon sa drug matrix, medyo, ang sinasabi ni General Carranza presents the drug matrix as though it were evidence. Of course, it's not evidence, it's his mere say-so. In other words, just because he say so doesn't mean it's true. So, General Carranza's allegation that ito ang drug matrix, therefore Mr. Santillan is guilty, is, pure PR, pure crockery. And it has no worth at all. It's not even worth the spit that he used for it. The point being is that General Carranza makes a presentation, but does not make any presentation of any evidence whatsoever to indicate the police operatives were, one, basing their operation on good information, and two, that Mr. Santillan indeed is involved in a drug syndicate. In fact, wala nga silang witnesses. Wala silang indication who are the other members of this syndicate. Wala. Not a thing. In fact, if you will look at previous reports of the PNP, the Highway Boys is supposed to be already a syndicate that had been removed, that had already been dealt with, and is not only obliterated, but either obliterated or completely weakened. Okay. Next. Attorney Chong also brings up the fact that meron siyang mga demands for evidence that have to be turned over because he needs it to prosecute the police officers involved in the death of Mr. Santillan. Attorney Chong believes sincerely that itong pagkamatay ni Mr. Santillan was not accidental, and that it was clearly intended to target him. To support this, he says that the vehicle that was being driven by Mr. Santillan is registered to him. And in fact, if they were not aware of it, if they were just identifying by car, then it might have been that Attorney Chong was the target of the operation and not Mr. Santillan. And Attorney Chong believes that all this talk about drug syndicates or criminal syndicates supposedly that involve Mr. Santillan clearly appear to be made up. There's no anything. In fact, not even a reason to flag down the car. So, masyadong manipis yung kwento ng PNP. But the PNP is reacting as though, parang sinasabi nila is, grabe kayo magbatiko sa amin, grabe kayo, sinisiraan niyo yung ahensya, and for what? For the candidacy of Mr. Chong? No, General Carranza, we are not doing that. The entire war on drugs rests almost solely on the PNP's capability to enforce the law, to conduct investigations, and to bring drug pushers, drug runners, and members of drug syndicates to justice. And we cannot do that with any amount of credibility if you're going to be shooting at any person without any reason and without any evidence. It is not enough to say that you have intel on that. Intel is only information that feeds your investigation. It points you in the right direction, but it does not tell you, but does not give you evidence. The evidence you need is the kind of evidence that has to stand up in court. So, hindi pwede ang hearsay, which is basically what intel is. Hindi pwede yung mga evidence that has been taken in violation of the rights of a person, such as his right to privacy. Hindi po pwede yung mga wiretapped evidence, etc. But in this case, in the case of the PNP, they cannot say why they are so certain that Mr. Santillan is a member of a criminal syndicate when they have not even produced a single other member of the syndicate. They have not even produced a witness. All they are saying is that the operation was based on intel reports and nothing else. Yet, they knew where Mr. Santillan was going to pass. They knew that Mr. Santillan was supposedly driving this particular car. In fact, in their press conference, they made a big deal about saying that, Mr. Santillan drives that car and is known to be using that car to run drugs. unfortunately, they don't have any specifics. Hindi sinasabi ng PNP, for instance, na, okay, on a particular instance, we conducted surveillance on Mr. Santillan. He went from point A to point B. He delivered drugs in the amount of so-and-so to a certain person named so-and-so on such and such date. Wala pong ganun eh. They cannot produce a single stick of evidence to indicate that Mr. Santillan is a member of a criminal syndicate. And that is our major problem. Next, the evidence na Attorney Chong was asking from the PNP has not been delivered. 18 days na, more than 18 days na po. It's in fact over 20 days now, by now, na since the time na nag-demand si Attorney Chong doon sa PNP to deliver the evidence. We'll discuss only three. Number one was the slippers that were being used by Mr. Santillan. Mr. Santillan, as a matter of habit that Attorney Chong knows, is that he will go to certain events wearing shoes and then take them off later on when the event is done. Clearly, at the time that Mr. Santillan was supposedly shot, he was wearing slippers. So he was not taken at the event, he was taken either from the car or from someplace else where he was clearly not at an event. He was not supposed to be meeting people. He was not in any formal capacity. Okay? But the PNP is not delivering. Hindi nila binibigay yung ebidensya na yun. Hindi nila sinusoli yung isang tsinelas. Yung tsinelas na yun ay dun sa isang paa niya na dalawa ang tama. Ayon dun sa pulis na gasgasan lang daw, na graze lang daw ng bala yung toes niya na yon. Pero sabi ni Attorney Glenn, hindi. They were deliberately shot. At mapapatunayan yan kung ipapakita yung nawawalang tsinelas. Kasi nakatsinelas siya at the time that he was supposedly operated on, that he was supposedly shot. Pero hindi nila pinapakita yung complete set ng suot niya. And importante po yung tsinelas para makikita natin kung nadaplisan lang siya ng bala o deliberately binaril yung kanyang paa. Dahil kung deliberately binaril yung kanyang paa at a significantly close distance or very close to him, then it will indicate also that this was either a form of torture or that he was deliberately killed in close quarters. And there was likely no opportunity for him to fight back. So, itong inability to protect himself, to defend himself, or to fight back is an aggravating circumstance na ipapatunay na nakakabigat ng isang asunto, lalong-lalo na kapag may namamatay. So, kapag in a murder case, nagiging murder yan kasi siniguro niya ng taong pumatay na hindi makakalaban si Mr. Santillan because clearly they were in close quarters and there's no opportunity for Mr. Santillan to be able to fight back. Okay. According to Attorney Glenn Chong, yung autopsy or forensic, actually the more accurate term is forensic examination because an autopsy would indicate that you would have to, a full autopsy requires the presence of a pathologist. Dr. Urfe is not a pathologist, but he is a forensic investigator. They can gather evidence, both can gather evidence, medical legal evidence in criminal cases. So ang ginawa ni Dr. Urfe, he indicated that imposible yung kwento ng PNP kasi may mga puncture wounds and puncture wounds indicate some close quarters force. Hindi maaaring hindi ka pwedeng magsaksak ng tao nang hindi nakakalapit sa kanya. And these are puncture wounds, clearly not arrow wounds or spear wounds. Puncture wounds, and they appear to have been made in close quarters. One. Second, there were hematoma, pre-antemortem hematoma, meaning may tumama sa kanya before he died. So, it is possible na binugbog siya before he died. There were other findings of Dr. Urfe, and these findings give greater reason for Attorney Chong to ask for further evidence, for the evidence that the PNP has withheld from him. Next, hinihingi ni Attorney Chong yung mga damit ni Mr. Santillan because they will also indicate the kind of, they will support the theory of the defense, the prosecution, or Attorney Chong's theory that he had been tortured before he was killed. And if he was tortured before he was killed, the PNP is clearly lying about their operation. Next, Attorney Chong also asks for a Stratcom report. Kasi according to them, may Stratcom report na about the car not being registered. And Attorney Chong asked dun sa LTO, wala nga daw alarma, wala naman daw notice to apprehend ang HPG. So what was the reason for them to target that particular vehicle? And take note, the PNP is very clear that it was the vehicle that was being targeted because they were saying hindi daw rehistrado. And kung vehicle yung tina-target, then it might not have been Mr. Santillan at all. Pero, it wasn't Mr. Santillan at all who was the target, but Attorney Chong himself. Okay? Kasi yung kotse supposedly belongs to Attorney Chong. Now, ang sinasabi ng PNP is hindi naman daw rehistrado kay Attorney Chong yan, but to somebody also surnamed Chong, who appears to be a close relative of Attorney Chong. So that kind of is not a very good defense for the PNP. So, eto na ngayon ang problema. Since the time that the PNP had announced their investigation into the use of excessive force, wala pa po hanggang ngayon na resulta yung investigation na yun. And second, instead of investigating deeply into the actions of their operatives in this case, they just seem to be coming up with evidence simply to counter the allegations of Attorney Chong, which is not a very good strategy to begin with, because all Attorney Chong has to do is cast doubt on material aspects of the spot report that was given by the PNP, and he already has a case for murder. Okay, there's enough probable cause for murder, provided that as soon as Attorney Chong files the case. So what the PNP is doing is sumasalag lang sila dun sa mga sinasabi ni Attorney Chong. Okay, let's go into your questions. Bakit po walang reaction ng palasyo? Magre-react ang palasyo pag nag-react ang Chief PNP. This is my theory only and only my opinion, okay? My problem is that why is General Albayalde not responding to any questions? The only reaction that General Albayalde has produced so far is to say that he's closely monitoring this case and nothing else. Samantalang at the same time, nangyari po yung dud of a case that was supposedly the apprehension of Nicanor Faeldon Jr., and that merited an entire press conference from General Albayalde himself. Instead, he ignores the Santillan case. And tama lahat ng mga observations that General Albayalde has been suspiciously quiet, except that the only statement that he has made is that he is monitoring the investigation that is being conducted by the PNP. The more curious question is, why is it the PNP conducting the investigation? Why isn't it an external body? Why isn't it internal affairs? Why isn't it the NBI? Why, in fact, has the DILG not stepped in? Yun yung tanong, yun yung $1,000,000 question. Why is the DILG suspiciously quiet? Yung DILG kasi, sila yung magre-rekomenda sa Pangulo kung kailangan niyang pansinin itong kasong ito. So, it's not, kumbaga, hindi muna ako magbabatiko sa ating Pangulo dahil hindi siya kumikibo tungkol dito sa Santillan case. Pero, kasi magdidepende siya doon sa rekomendasyon ng DILG. Ito yung tanong, wala ring statement ng DILG. So, ito yung mga tahimik. Tahimik si General Albayalde, tahimik din ang DILG, and that is the major question. The President will react only based on a recommendation either of the Chief PNP or the DILG OIC, which is General Año, Acting Secretary, which is General Año. So these two gentlemen are suspiciously quiet, and they clearly have not made any recommendations to the President on whether to react or not. Or, if the President is not reacting, it will be based on their recommendation. So, wag muna yung Presidente. Let's look towards the chain of command, or the lower levels, and find out why is it that the president has not been recommended to react to this case? Okay? So, right now, we still have more questions than answers. But, what is clear, i-recap natin, what is clear is that the PNP's story no longer holds water. Meron na kasing forensic examination si Dr. Erfe indicating, dun pa lang sa puncture wounds, patay na yung teorya nila because they said that while Mr. Santillan was killed by gunshot wounds, they're very quiet as to how he got the puncture wounds. And they have to be the one answerable to that kasi nasa kanila yung body. Sila po ang supposedly nag-conduct ng operations. They were the last persons to see him alive. So, ito yung tanong. Bakit hindi man lang nila maisagot yung puncture wounds? Bakit hindi nila maisagot yung hematoma? Although I suspect na yung hematoma, yung mga bugbog sa kanya, maaari nilang sabihin na, siguro kasi when he was trying to get away, bangga-bangga yung kotse. But the physical evidence will refute that. Wala naman na tayong nakitang bangga masyado dun sa kotse. Ang nakikita lang natin ay bullet holes. Okay. So, not only is there clearly a use of excessive force, the PNP story is so highly inconsistent that Attorney Chong already right now, even as we speak, even without the slippers and without the clothes and without the supposed STRADCOM report, it is very clear that Attorney Chong already has a case and already I can see that this is going to pass through probable cause. Ang tanong, we need to be able to pinpoint the exact faults or the exact actions that were undertaken by the operations team. And the PNP has to provide a report for that. Halimbawa, nasan yung positioning nila at the time of the apprehension, nasan ang position nila at the time that they were shooting at him, nasan sila at that. All of these have to be given in sufficient detail para makikita natin ano talaga ang nangyari at the time na supposedly ina-apprehend nila si Mr. Santillan. Okay, tinatanong ni Nikki Dahay, bakit po kinuha nila ang brain? Well, ganito po yan. When you conduct an autopsy, you really remove all internal organs, including the brain. Ini-examine po yan sa autopsy. Now, the question nga is, why did they not include? Normally kasi, ini-include yan kapag autopsy, tapos i-embalso na yan. It will be turned over to the funeral services. So, the general practice is you remove all internal organs and they are no longer returned. So, in fact, I don't know why the internal organs were partly returned. So, parang there's a deviation from the standard operating procedure here. Usually, nire-return nila lahat, but as far as I understand, during embalming procedures, you remove all internal organs and all the blood. So, you're really left with just the body. So, most likely, the brain and internal organs were removed by the embalsamador in the funeral home. Still, what is important is that the PNP has to deliver a full autopsy report and explanations for the various injuries that were suffered to Mr. Santillan. Sabi ni Christian Yuchiaresu, nung inimbalsa or autopsy daw yung nung PNP kaya may puncture wounds. But according to the report of Dr. Erfe, these are ante-mortem wounds, meaning the punctures were before he died. I'm going to have to check again. Kasi ang narinig ko lang dun sa press conferences that there were puncture wounds. So, hindi yata malinaw kung ante-mortem or post-mortem. Kasi ang sinasabi ni Dr. Erfe, the puncture wounds indicate torture. Therefore, his finding would be that these puncture wounds were ante-mortem before Mr. Santillan died. So, hindi pwedeng i-explain yan as part of the embalming procedure. Although, pag ini-embalsa, sa umpisa ng embalming procedure, at the very, very start, may puncture talaga yan. The first puncture is here, under the sternum, right after the bone, the hard middle bone in the middle of the chest. Pinapuncture yan, and then there are other puncture wounds to drain the blood from the body. So, normally, talagang may puncture wounds ang isang but those would be what we call post-mortem puncture wounds. Makikita naman dun sa sugat kung nasugatan yung katawan after na namatay or before namatay. So, ang indication, at least based on the press conference of Dr. Urfe, maliwanag po na ang sinasabi niya signs of torture yung puncture wounds. Therefore, his thesis or hypothesis is that yung puncture wounds na yon ay antemortem. Sabi ni Mary Love Joran Rapira, di ba may body camera ang mga pulis? Hindi, I actually looked at the police at the recent reports on the acquisition of body cams. Hindi po nakaka-acquire ng body cams ang PNP kasi ni-reject yung last ano ba to? Yung last specs na last na approved na specs nire-reject daw ng PNP. So no body cams because no body cams have actually been acquired yet as of December 2018. Sabi ni Sital Diali, maraming matatamaan kapag si Attorney Chong kasi sabi niya nitong January ilalabas niya ang lahat ng meron siya. Sana makamit natin ang justice kay Santillan. Agree po. Sabi ni Bernadette Prieto, so ano na? Naging kriminal na talaga mga pulis na inaalagaan ni Mr. Duterte. Binaby niya masyado, tinaasan ng sahod, binigyan ng karapatan pumatay kung nasa alanganin ng buhay at pwede nating gawin yon sa kanila din. Daming himala ngayon sa Pinas, gising ng mga Pinoy, baka yung pinaniniwalaan natin na magsasalba sa atin ay hindi pala. I disagree. Okay, I disagree. Unang-una nga, hindi po natin masasabi na yung ginawa ng Region 4 is indicative of the entire PNP. Yun nga yung nirereklamo ng ibang mga pulis. In general, I find that that police, yung mga kapulisan natin are upright and usually do the right thing. So, hindi mo mawala sa isang ahensya o sa isang organisasyon na merong masasama. Huwag natin babasihan yung ating paghuhusga ng isang buong ahensya base lang dun sa gawain ng ilan. Tandaan po natin, kailan lang po naging presidente ang Pangulo natin at kailan lang po inumpisahan puksain o tanggalin yung mga narco-generals. Nagtagal po si General Bato na kahit isang narco-general ay hindi po natanggal kahit in-identify na po ng ating Pangulo. So, tignan natin. I wouldn't put the blame on the president here, but I would put the blame on an organization that has operated with a lot of secrecy lately. Marami silang pinoprotektahan. So, in fact, the indication na masyadong matindi yung protection ng PNP is, i-compare nyo yung kaso ni Richard Santillan doon sa kaso ni Congressman Batocabe at saka doon sa kaso ng mga Garin. Doon sa kaso ng mga Garin at kay Congressman Batocabe, grabe yung response ng police. May mga meron pang sinasabi na reward money that is being offered at ang bilis-bilis nahahanap nila yung suspects, meron na daw silang suspects, they're closing in on the cases, etc. Doon sa Garin, immediately after that, tinanggalan ng security, kinancel yung mga lisensya ng barel, ni-relieve yung hepe nung pulis na nabugbog. You see the response right away kasi sila yung inattack. But in the case of Red Santillan, ang ina-attack ng publiko ngayon ay ang pulis mismo. So you will see the difference. The reason the police are acting differently in these three cases is because hindi sila yung victim. Doon sa kaso ni Congressman Batocabe, halimbawa, a few days before Batocabe was killed, ayon dun sa PNP, source natin, ay pinull out yung ilang security detail niya who are PNP. Dalawa lang po ang natira. And if I'm not mistaken, at least one of them or two of them were killed at the same time that Congressman Batocabe was killed. Kasi inambush sila. So, victim doon sa kaso ni Congressman Batocabe ay pulis. Doon din sa kaso ng mga Garin, pulis din po ang victim. So, ang bilis ng reaction nila. Pero in the case of Santillan, pulis po ang akusado. So, hindi natin kumbaga, we cannot blame the PNP in reacting the way they did. Ang kailangan po dito is tanggalan po ng investigative capacity ang PNP dito sa kaso ni Richard Santillan kasi hindi na po sila objective. Nakikita natin na masyado na silang defensive. At dahil defensive na sila, it is time to move the investigation to an external group. Kung bibigyan sila, papayagan sila ng PNP. Sabi ni Ben Kiampo, is that all the PNP can show for their actions? If that's their best alibi, oops, sorry sir, nawala po. Okay. Sabi ni Albert Oscales Pernia, police is kalawag para sa mga involved. Don't generalize the organization. Ako, I agree. Hindi natin ina-attack ang PNP as an organization. Pero they have to step up. Sila po ang nasa forefront ng drug war. Kung hindi natin mapapagkatiwalaan yung mga taong nagko-conduct ng drug war, edi anong pinagkaiba natin dun sa ano yung ano nang masasabi natin dun sa mga sinasabi ng kabilang parlor, ng mga dilawan, na yung drug war na ito is just a wholesale slaughter of people. The PNP has to step up. We need, nadidistract sila eh. May war on drugs tayo. Pero parang ang lumalabas is, may quota system na lang sila. Kailangan humuli na lang ng humuli ng supposedly drug suspects at gawa na lang sila ng kwento. Tignan niyo yung kaso ni Canarfa Eldon Jr. Paano naging drug den yung lugar na yun? Wala silang ebidensya. They only found one person, a certain amount of drugs in a room that the police had occupied, that the police had looked at prior to the formal conduct of the search. So, nung wala pa yung mga witnesses, tinignan ng mga pulis yung kwarto na supposedly nahanapan ng droga. So, hindi sila sumunod dun sa standard operating procedure doon sa pag-serve ng isang search warrant. Tapos, suddenly, meron ng mga suspects, suddenly, drug den na ito. Tapos, bonus sila. Ang isang nandun sa bahay, isang ni Canorfa Eldon Jr. So, no, the police has not been stepping up on its operations at nawawalan ng tiwala ang taong bayan to allow them to conduct the drug war. Di ba dati tinanggalan na sila ng Pangulo at nilipat dun sa PIDEA yung pag-conduct nitong mga operations against the drug syndicates? Tama yon kasi yun po yung nasa batas. Pero ngayon, sinoli na uli sa PNP dahil nahihirapan ang PIDEA. Wala silang ganong capacity eh. Hindi nila kakayanin yung laki ng operasyon against the drug syndicates. Ang konti nila, they have to deputize from other agencies. But at the same time, binabalik natin dun sa PNP, hindi na nga natin sila nakakailang kaso na PNP yung ating nagiging suspect. 'Di ba? Sino yung yung isang drug suspect na supposedly nagsaserve lang sila ng search warrant or warrant of arrest, pinatay nila inside the penitentiary? Paano 'yon? Paano nangyari yan? Hindi pa nga nasosolve yung isang kaso na yon. So, hindi natin, kaya tayo, that's why we have to be hard on the PNP. That's why we have to demand more of them. Kasi nga, sila yung pinagkakatiwalaan natin dito sa drug war. Ito pa, merong prinsipyo na tinatawag na presumption of regularity dun sa ating mga sa mga public officers natin, katulad ng ating mga pulis. Pag sinabi nila, kunwari, na ganito yung operation, ganito yung narration nila, ina-assume ng hukuman na tama yon. Merong presumption na tama yung sinabi nila at may presumption that they conducted their operations with regularity. It is up to us to prove na hindi tama yung ginawa nila. Na lumabag sila sa ethics nila, lumabag sila sa procedure nila at nag-commit sila ng krimen or administrative offenses. So, isipin nyo, mabigat ang salita ng PNP. Mabigat yan, binibigyan ng weight yan ng ating hukuman kapag PNP ang nagsalita. Pero, if they're going to be this sloppy, then paano na? Diba? A good lawyer will be able to get the worst kind of drug offender off kung ganito sila ka-sloppy. And the worst part is, many innocents can go to jail. So, paano natin pagkakatiwalaan kung may mga quote-unquote, scalawags dito sa PNP? We have to come down hard. We have to insist on an investigation dito sa Santillan case at nakaka-frustrate, nakaka-irita. Nakaka-frustrate talaga, nakakainis. That there seem to be no reactions from the highest officials of government, from General Albayalde to the DILG OIC Secretary Anyo. Ano na? Nasa na? Why is this so slow? Ang bilis ng reaction ninyo nung si Bato Cabe ang namatay. Bakit? Dahil congressman siya? Or dahil ang mga biktima dito pulis? Pero ang biktima, ordinaryong citizen, hindi kayo gumagalaw. What? 'Di ba? Kaya nga nating mahal itong administrasyon na ito because the voiceless have a voice. Because the people who have been ignored by the elitists are now in center stage. Pero Santillan was one of us. Isa po siya sa atin at alam natin na hindi tama itong kwento ng PNP at kung hindi tama ang kwento ng PNP dito, may question mark ngayon. What about all of the previous apprehensions at saka killings na kinokonduct ng PNP? Hindi man alam ng Pangulo pero nagre-rely tayo on the PNP to do this, and if they don't do it right, then what is the point in doing it at all? 'Di ba? Sabi ni Lilia Colendres Hill, that's not fair. What is not fair? You have to be specific so I can react to it. So, tama itong si Tito Zarate, matagal-tagal na rin. Dapat na una ang cleanup sa PNP. Yes, the PNP cleanup should have come first before full-scale drug war. Pero hindi kasi pwede tayong mag-intay na dun sa drug war. Nag-infiltrate na sila dun sa mga politiko natin. If politicians are being paid off by drug money, then the entire government can eventually be run by narco-politicians. At lahat ng mga policies natin will be to protect them. In fact, we're already dealing with that. Na ang mga politiko natin ay controlled by drug money. So, hindi pwede the drug war cannot wait, but neither can we allow the PNP to run roughshod over the rights of citizens. Sabi ni Del Mundo L. Larry, I agree na dapat si Albayalde should have said something already. Sabi ni Lorenzo Ausa, mabuti pa nga kay Batocabe, araw-araw nasa TV balita, kay Santillan wala. Tahimik lahat. Sabi ni Maria Angela Cahanding, tingin ko po it's really not a planned police operation, almost a day bago nalaman yung kay Santillan. Yung 2 new cases, may witnesses and must react fast within the first 24 hours, pero I agree pong despite that, kulang po talaga ng reaction. Sabi ni Rayland Lumawi, bakit yung mga dilawan sobrang tahimik sa pagkamatay ni Red, samantalang ito matagal na nilang iniintay na EJK? Isa pa yon. It's also alam naman po natin na ang talagang nag-benefit dito sa Smartmatic ay yung last administration at nag-attempt pa sila mag-benefit uli in the last elections. At least that is our working hypothesis, no? Na dahil nag-benefit sila dun sa Smartmatic, they do not sympathize with the plight of Attorney Chong. So talagang hindi nila ipupursige ito. Hindi nila po gusto yung ginagawa ni Attorney Chong. Sabi ni Dennis Tawal, shouldn't the palace be giving a statement already since the credibility of the PNP can affect the credibility of the executive branch? No, we're not talking about the credibility of the PNP as a whole yet, but simply of the operatives who conducted this operation against Mr. Santillan, supposed operation against Mr. Santillan. We don't, one bad apple, while it can affect the entire agency, if hindi naman agency-wide yung policy na ito, then we don't attach it to the agency. Itong mga operatives na ito yung imbestigahan natin. Huwag muna natin sabihin na PNP ang may kasalanan na ito. They will eventually, if they don't investigate, if they look the other way, then magiging liable yung PNP command, yung hierarchy nila. Sabi ni Ed Castillo, hindi kaya there's a scalawag smear campaign going on para ipahiya ang PNP and the drug war campaign. Really? The problem with that kind of theory is that you cannot predict how people will react. Why would they do it in secret? Why kill Red Santillan in such a secretive, in such a sloppy manner? If ang purpose ninyo is to smear the entire PNP, di mahuhuli pa rin yung 18 na yun. Are you saying that 18 people were willing to sacrifice themselves simply for a smear campaign? It doesn't compute and it's against human nature. No, the simplest explanation is almost always the best one. And the simplest explanation here is the PNP were just simply looking for another person to lock into their drug campaign. To comply with the quota system or something like that. They just needed another druggie. And Mr. Santillan was it. even if he wasn't an actual one. What do you think with all your efforts, sabi ni Susan Reyes, could you be successful in proving this case against the cops? What can we do to break this despicable conspiracy, even without PRRD's vocal support? I can't reveal yet who is going to actually prosecute the case, no? Although it won't be Attorney Chong. Right now, ang ginagawa natin is simply securing the evidence. I'm simply explaining to you how this is planning out, what is going on. Kumbaga, we're breaking it down to you so that you understand exactly all the steps that's going on and what Attorney Chong, all the steps that are being taken. And Attorney Chong is continuing to gather evidence. That's his job right now. After this, the evidence will be turned over to the prosecuting team, and we will see what is going to happen. Right now, kasi kailangan natin makumpleto yung ebidensya. Do you think this will be successful? It will depend on the evidence that is gathered. Sabi ni Filomeno Pale, let's all make noise. Huwag tayong tumigil pag-ingay kasi ito ang pinaglalaban natin. Agree. We can't let this case die kasi masyadong garapal. And, of course, Attorney Chong has a theory about General Carranza and his relation to other, how do you call this, discredited police generals. That's another angle that we have to look at. Sabi ni Jasper, why is it the PNP involved cannot be found? Well, the two top officers were relieved and reassigned. Pero the others are supposedly being administratively detained para daw hindi sila makikialam dun sa investigasyon. It also helps na nakatago sila. Sabi ni Rami Ram, nasan po ang autopsy report ng babaeng kasama ni Red? There's none yet. We don't even know if an autopsy has been conducted on her. Assuming that she has had an autopsy conducted, it was conducted by the PNP at hindi nga po binibigay. Wala pa pong natatanggap. Isa pa. Ito significant ito. At the time that Mr. Santillan died, at merong report na may kasama siyang babae, one of the first things that I said is, pustahan tayo, sasabihin ng PNP dahil may kasamang babae, yung babae na yung girlfriend. Mr. Santillan is married. And so, I expected na, because, you know why they're saying the girlfriend niya yung kasama niya? Because it fits into their theory that, Mr. Santillan is a bad person and therefore he has a girlfriend and therefore he's not faithful to his wife, etc. It's character assassination, basically. So, standard yan. Ang PNP, parati yan ganyan. Basta may kasama, dalawa yung namatay, magkasama babae at lalaki, sasabihin ng PNP, yan, mag-girlfriend, mag-boyfriend din, even if it's not true. Even if there's no basis to say that. Sabi ni Ryuji Takahashi, classmate kasi ni Abayal Carranza, kaya untouchable, kaya tahimik, hindi niya kaya yung kamista niya. I don't know about that. I have to verify that information. Sabi ni Alkinto, I have the feeling na part ito to discredit Attorney Chong, palabasin nila involved sa mga illegal activities si Attorney Chong. Yes, and it's a good thing that Attorney Chong reacted immediately. So ngayon, hindi nila maituloy-tuloy yung smear campaign against Attorney Chong, not smear campaign, discrediting campaign. But I'm not even sure if it goes that deep. Para sa akin, on the surface, it just looks like that the PNP screwed up badly. That Mr. Santillan was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Parang yung mga tipong, meron tayong drug suspect, dadaan dito sa lugar na ito. Tapos, ratatat nila yung kotse, sasabihin na they have this whole story na tried to get away, hinihil siya kasi ganito yung sasakyan, etc. Hindi rehistrado, yada. Pero actually, it's just, they're trying to meet a quota system. They have no story. It's so convenient nowadays for the cops to say na, may ano yan sa droga tataniman lang nila, and then this guy is automatically a drug runner without any other evidence except for the fact that there were drugs found in his car. Because of the presumption of regularity, assume ng hukuman na nahanap ng PNP yan at hindi yan tinanim. Di ba? So, ang sinasabi ko dito is, for those asking kung bakit tahimik ang Pangulo natin, well, we cannot read the President's mind. But the President will react based on recommendations. And who makes these recommendations? Chief PNP and DILG. So kung wala pa pong mga reaction ng presidente, clearly either he has been recommended not to react or there has been no recommendation at all. May troll tayo. Sandali tanggalin ko muna. Okay. Let's see. Sabi ni Larry Del Mundo, of course, they'll resort to all sorts of excuses to put blame on Red Santillan. My God, was murdered all right. Yung right slipper daw ni Red, di pa binibigay ng PNP to prove na binaril sa paa si Red. Sabi ni Thorrod, sabi natanggal lang kuko, bakit ngayon binaril? O ibang paa. That's not even clear to me. So it's possible that yung pagkatanggal ng kuko was a theory and has been disproven by Dr. Urfe. Sabi ni Ivan Magtuba, paano kung hindi ibigay ng police evidence na hinihingi ni Attorney Chong? Ano yung next steps? Well, Attorney Chong can file the case based on the evidence that he already has, and if it passes through probable cause, pagdating dun sa court, magko-conduct ng what we call discovery. Discovery means the court will issue an order for the PNP to produce this evidence. So they can't keep that for long. So ngayon, kung mag-deteriorating evidence while in the custody of the PNP, or pag sinabi lang na wala, na ganito, it hurts their credibility. It will be taken against them kasi matagal nang hinihingi ni Attorney Chong and they're not saying that anything has been destroyed, lost, or stolen. Pero if the court issues an order and they try to use that excuse, then it will work against them. Sabi ni Nap Lopez, your theory about the quota system specific to Red Santillan does not explain the torture marks. Why not? Why not? Okay, Mr. Santillan, we don't know who you are from Adam. We'll torture him, get him to admit to being a drug runner. It still fits. Sabi ni Con Sab Hauptmann, Connie here from Germany, but why torture him? There must be a strong reason behind it. Why does there have to be a strong reason behind it? If you're used to doing this. Sabi ni Sol Anton, how about the constitutionality of Tokhang? May update po ba? Wala pa po. Wala pa that I can see. Hindi. Ano na? Constitutional. I have to double check ha. I can't answer that right now because I have to double check. Jules Udtuhan says, bakit tahimik si Presidente Duterte? I already answered that. Sabi ni Bren Alfara, yung mga tama ng kotse hindi po tumutugma sa mga sugat ni Red sa ulo, sa katawan, malayo sa katotohanan, mga alibay ng PNP. We don't know that yet because you need to study trajectories and you need to study bullet direction. So we will see. But according to the report of Dr. Urfe, and you have something there, you're still partly right. Sabi ni Dr. Urfe, some of the wounds were shot from below. So the theory of him being killed during the police operation on his car might not be consistent nga with his wounds. Sabi ni Nikki Dahay, yun Attorney Chong, mag-ingat kayo pala, don't go out alone, nakakatakot, just take extra care of your surroundings. Okay lang po yan. So, ayun. Sabi ni Dennis Dawal, thanks for the explanation. It's probable that the PAL should respond only based on recommendations from the PNP or the DILG. Yes. Tignan nyo FB page PRRD na about Red Santillan, so he can't give any judgment yet as he's lacking information. Yes, that's possible because pending nga yung investigation ng PNP. So, he's probably going to do a wait and see. Wait, I'll explain why he's waiting and seeing. The President will wait and see and respond probably after the investigations being conducted by the PNP have been completed. Alam niyo kung bakit? Because the President has to stand by his cops. The President has to stand by his law enforcers. Kasi yan ang inuutusan niya. He tells these people, the PNP and the AFP, to put themselves in harm's way, to protect the country, to protect the citizens. And in order to be able to do that, these people must rely on his leadership. Kung masyadong mabilis or maangas ang Pangulo doon sa sarili niyang mga tao, he cannot develop their loyalty. He cannot count on their loyalty. That is why the President raises salaries. That's why he makes sure that we take care of the PNP and the AFP. However, this does not address the issue of scalawags in uniform. I trust that the President will react accordingly. Pero remember, ang Presidente galit din sa scalawags. Anong sabi niya? If you're within your rights, if you're obeying the law, if tama yung ginagawa mo, kahit makulong ka, ipapardon kita. Kahit this is a strong statement from the President to stand by his men. But he also says, pero kung gago ka, ako mismo, 'di ba? So he has given the warning to scalawags in uniform. Pero agree din ako, nakakapagtaka na kung bakit hindi siya nagre-react dito. I think it's very, very tricky. There might be people who are actually interested in this case against Attorney Chong because of Smartmatic. There are some people who occupy positions in government because if it is true everything that Attorney Chong says, then there's so many people who are not supposed to be in office, di ba? Sabi ni John Lee, is there any other way like Mocha to recommend Richard's case or you and Pao or kahit pagtulong-tulungan ng mga vloggers na makipag-usap kay President para malaman naman niya for sure. Ganito po yan. Ang vloggers, parang media kami. We will write about it. And these things, they reach the President anyway. Don't say naman na hindi umaabot sa Pangulo because minomonitor naman ng social media. It will still come right down to it. It isn't as if the President doesn't know. The President knows. He's briefed about major issues all the time. So there is a reason kung bakit hindi siya nagre-react. And it still goes back down to the recommendations of the PNP and the DILG. Sabi ni Sarah Morales, she's watching from Kuala Lumpur. Sabi ni Alicia, I think it's inexcusable that the President is remaining quiet about this case. We ordinary people are depending on him to do something about it. He's the only one who has the power. I agree and I understand your frustration. But ako, I would like to hear first from General Albayalde and from DILG OIC. Let's see. Ako, I'm willing to wait for that. I'm willing to wait for them to make public whatever recommendations they have made or to come out and say why they have made such recommendations. Sabi ni Johan Ong Chanko, di ba order ng mga agency to respond immediately 15 days, pati sinasagot ng PNP si Chong. Sinasagot nila, ganito po yan. The rule is you have to respond within 10 to 15 days. So a response can be, we have received your letter, we're acting on it accordingly. Di ba? Yun. So, the action might take longer than 15 days, and that is allowed. Basta mag-react ka within 15 days. Sabi ni Jovic Kev Cano, may dahilan si Presidente kung bakit nananahimik siya. Kasi di po siya yung ganong klase na basta mananahimik lang. May dahilan talaga. Yes, and I would like to give him the benefit of the doubt. For now. Kasi nga, tatahimik yan base sa rekomendasyon. Hindi naman, walang personal knowledge ang Pangulo natin tungkol dito sa kaso na to. And what knowledge he has will come from the recommendations. And who will be recommending? Hindi ba cabinet? Sino ba ang cabinet dito? DILG. Sino ang DILG? Si Anyo. Kanino magre-rely si Anyo? Chief PNP Albayalde. So, the chain of command is still missing statements. Wala pa po silang statements. And the President has not been making any, giving us a clue as to what has been told to him. Tandaan po natin, this is a very, very special case because of Attorney Chong. Attorney Chong's information can destroy careers. If it comes down to it, actually, if there is an official action, if Bongbong Marcos wins in the Supreme Court, this is a recognition of the flaw in Smartmatic, that something went wrong with the electoral system. And if something went wrong in the electoral system, it means there are people who have been receiving salaries and occupying positions of power who should not be there, and who were there simply because they stole the elections. They're going to be ruined. So, and many of them might even be running for further public office. They might be running for re-election, or they have family who are running for re-election. We could be toppling, Attorney Chong could end up toppling entire dynasties if he can prove his Smartmatic well, actually he's already done that. If he takes it to a higher level, if Attorney Chong becomes senator and goes further into Smartmatic, there are people who can actually go to jail. So, this is a very, very special case. The other thing is the elephant in the room. Are there people currently who are going to benefit from Smartmatic who don't want Attorney Chong to occupy a position of senator because it will endanger their ability? They don't want him to run at all because it will endanger their ability to win in the next election. That is another thing. So it's time for us to start asking the hard questions and compel the DILG and the PNP to react. General Albayalde, Attorney Chong is a very special person because of the information that he has. Diba? The surprising thing nga is why Attorney Chong is still alive. So, we have to be noisier and demand an accounting for this. Government is not moving despite the attention that we are giving it. We have to clamor for more attention. Remember what happened with Deng Vaxia? We were able to compel the president to issue a statement. I think we can do that again. Okay? Ako personally, I want Attorney Chong to win the next elections because grabe magbabago yung mundo natin. Magbabago talaga siya because there are people who will have to start explaining, how is it that you won? How is it that we have been calling you congressman or senator or vice president for so long when actually a voting machine manufactured your votes? Diba? So, we'll recap. The two investigations are being conducted by the PNP. One is on whether or not excessive force has been used in the operation against Red Santillan, and second, to look into the allegations made by Attorney Chong. In both cases, we have not had any updates in over a week, and the conduct of the investigation on excessive force, there has been no updates yet, ever. Instead, we have had a press conference of General Calanza refuting certain claims made by Attorney Chong and continuing to refuse or ignore the requests for the production of certain evidence that may lead to the prosecution of members of the operatives of this particular mission that had ended in the death of Richard Santillan. Tough questions now need to be asked. Is the murder of Red Santillan related to Attorney Chong directly, or is this simply a screw-up by the PNP? Either way, heads have to roll, and not only heads have to roll, people have to go to jail. There are two people who are dead in this case, and let's not forget the female companion of Red Santillan, who also demands for justice. I mean, we have dead people. We have people killed by police officers who are responsible to us. Let me just make a short explanation of the code of honor of the noble, what is known as the noble profession of arms. The noble profession of arms is bound by a code. It's bound by a code because we arm them, the government, the state, the region. We put guns in the hands of our police officers and our soldiers, and we bind them to a code. We bind them to a code so that they don't turn those guns against us. But when they do, not only do they violate their code, but we must come down hard on them. Because not only have they taken advantage of their superiority, the fact that they are authorized to carry guns, the fact that they have the presumption of regularity in their favor, but they violate the trust that we rest in them. Another trust is also in consideration here, the trust that we have put in the electoral system. That trust is slowly being eroded because Attorney Chong has made revelations that cannot be ignored, and yet they are being ignored. Smartmatic is still in place. And now, Red Santillan, aide to Attorney Chong, who has exposed the manufacturing of votes possible manufacturing of votes being conducted by Smartmatic that is still in charge of the next elections, has placed a big question in the minds of most of us of the public. How long can Attorney Chong be around to tell his tale? One, he has to be protected. Two, we need justice for Red Santillan and the female companion that he had on that day. We will update as soon as we have further developments in this case, but it is something to think about. These cases about the violation of trust not only in the PNP, whom we have entrusted to protect us and to bear arms, but also in the electoral system that Attorney Chong has continued to expose. Maraming salamat po dun sa lahat ng nakinig. Huwag ko pong kakalimutan mag-like at mag-share dito sa Luminous by Trixie, Cruz-Angeles and Ahmed Paglinawan, at saka dito po sa live natin. And lagyan niyo po yung paki-click po yung notifications para sa susunod na live ay may notification kayo ulit. We will keep you updated as things develop on this case. And yes, dun sa mga nagsabi, tumutulong po kami kay Attorney Chong in whatever capacity we can. The other way that you can help is to please keep attention on this case. Huwag po natin pabayaan, mawala ng atensyon ang kaso na ito kasi hindi makakakamit ng hustisya yung dalawa pong namatay. Maraming salamat po uli. I hope you all have a good day.